really what happens is we fight it first, we get upset, we go through all the emotions of, oh my gosh, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? And then we finally say, Uncle, okay.
Did you push record?
Thank you for tuning in to Our Second Act with Paige and Silka.
For your second act of life. Hey, Silka.
Hello, Paige. Paige, today a topic that I know we've talked off camera that has come up over and over and over again for some reason, so I think we need to talk about it. And that is dealing with or coming to terms with midlife changes. And it might seem like nothing, but there's been so many instances where this has hit us smack dab. For example, a friend of mine, we won't call her out on it, but talking about questioning her value now because she isn't feeling as well. How can she counsel other people if she isn't feeling well? We both talked about stuff that's going on with us where we're questioning our value or our worthiness. And so many other people must be experiencing that right now. And again, when we said that, you said, oh yeah, so are my clients. Let's talk about that. What is it about midlife and changes that makes it so difficult?
So I know that when I first came to you, I'm like, we need to share with our audience what we're going through so it's transparent. Because we come on and we talk about all these topics, but I want our audience to realize that we are going through so many of the same things that they are going through. So when we go and we talk about how do you come to terms with midlife, it could be anything. Like the person that you were talking about wasn't feeling well and starting to doubt, is she a farce because she's helping her own clients, but she's not feeling well? And my response to you was, even better, because you know what? If you can share what's going on with you, your health, your medical, relationships, whatever it might be, you now become more real for the people that you're helping because they can identify with, oh, so you do get it. You have walked in my shoes or you are walking in my shoes. And about the whole value and worthiness, we have to remember that, value changes as we get older. Meaning, what do we value? What is of value? What do we want to bring to the table? Because that can change with how we're feeling, where we are, and how we need to adapt in what's going on with our life. So I'll just take a pause right there.
Exactly. And I've always felt that too, that if you share something personal about you, something vulnerable, and I want to bring that into this discussion, that makes you more relatable. But so many people are afraid to do that, to be vulnerable and maybe disclose something that they're feeling insecure about because they feel rejected.
Well, it just came up when you were talking about that. I think about the two sides of the coin. The first half of life of like the 20, 30-year-olds, where their vulnerability has been, let's just throw everything on social media and share everything and be totally transparent. And here it is out there. Our age group and older didn't grow up with that. We didn't do that. So we're a lot more like closer to the chest of, well, I'm not going to share that, or, I'm not going to tell this. So there's two different kind of, generations here. The one that share everything to the one end of the spectrum and the other that didn't share anything. And both generations need to come to the middle as far as balance goes, right? So that just came up to me. When we're talking about vulnerability. So when we're talking about, second act of life, our generations aren't as good at sharing and opening up because that means you're not perfect. That means you can't handle things. That means you're not strong enough. And that's really just the opposite. And that's been what a lot of the issues have been about and problems of our world is not being able to share and say, hey, this happened to me and this is what I'm doing. We're not talking about playing the victim. Oh, this has happened to me and let me share everything and poor me and oh my God, it goes on and on and on. This is about, hey, like for instance, for me, we haven't had as many shows in the past couple of months. I'm sure people have noticed because I've been struggling with medical stuff and health stuff that came from chronic stress. It came from a physical attack and assault that happened to me at the end of 2019. So many things in my body I've had to deal with. And anybody who's listened to me has known that I take really good care of myself and I talk the talk and I walk the walk. So for me, it was coming to terms with, hey, this is where I am. I might not be able to do as many shows with Sukkah right now. I might need to take more rests right now. There's days where I feel really sick, and that's just where I am. So it's the same kind of thing with whatever you're going through right now. It's how do you come to terms and allow whatever you're going through to be okay and to allow the body to go, I can't do this today. And that's okay, because maybe within coming to terms, you're shifting and changing who you are in the second act of life, what's important to you, how you want to live your life, and your body's going, excuse me, the way we lived before, this is how we're going to live now. And there are actually still some great things about it. So it's changing your viewpoint, your perspective, allowing and embracing. So I know I just said a lot, so I'll just be quiet for a little bit and you can jump in.
Well, what came up for me is that a few years ago I produced with you also, but with other content experts, a lot of shows on running and taking up running later in life. Which was a huge part of my after 50, feeling great, recreating my life. Running was a huge part of that. And then in the last 2 years, in the last year in particular, that has changed. My body is telling me no more. And that has been really hard to accept because I look at what I produce, I look at the advice I gave, then I think, does that no longer valid?
No, no, but actually, it is valid because it works when your body says it works. And then when it doesn't, your body goes, let's try something new. So it's all valid. It's all valuable if that works for you in that moment, in that time, in that space of your life.
Yeah. And it's not running that hurt my body. It's I have arthritis. And that is really hard to admit because it does make me feel older and weaker.
And you know what, Sukkah? Everyone has that. Everyone has these things. And that's why I wanted to talk about this today, because weaker is a frame of mind, right? But maybe our bodies do feel weaker than they did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And again, it's coming to terms with, okay, I'm not who I was in those terms 5, 10, 20 years ago. But what do I bring to the table that I've learned? What is the wisdom that I've learned? Not only about experiences, but what does my body want now that I go, hey, maybe I would never even thought to try Pilates or done walking or swimming because I was so hell-bent on running or whatever it might be, that now I'm getting to experience something new in a different way. And hey, I'm actually finding some pleasure out of it.
Great point, because I've discovered run walking, which I always, my thing was always when I ran, never stop. Once I stopped, that was like almost like a failure or giving up. And now I've discovered something new. So what I've learned, and I don't want to make this about me, but I want this to be relatable maybe for what others are going through, is that by adapting, I've actually have more joy out of that now and actually getting more benefit. And one of our other guests, Nick Letwanio, he has a station over 50 as well, and he just did a video really embracing the fact or talking about the fact that he has real back issues, and he is very active. And that's hard to admit sometimes when we're in these roles.
Very. And you said a good word, adapting. And I know for me, because I help so many people who are going through different traumas and medical issues, and here I am helping them while I'm not even feeling well. But the same thing is, I'm adapting to it until hopefully things, balance out a little bit more. So the key word there is adapting. How do we adapt? Because really what happens is we fight it first, we get upset, we go through all the emotions of, oh my gosh, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? And then we finally say, Uncle, okay, so now that I've gone through and felt all of that, and I'm saying this because that's part of the process. You have to kind of go through that process. And then you find, okay, at least for me, what's the spiritual thing out of this? What am I supposed to learn from this? What's another learning opportunity that's going on with this? And then there's, okay, now how do I adapt? And how do I just be honest with, look, maybe we scheduled this today, but I can't do it because I don't feel well. And I'm not letting somebody down.
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, you're not letting yourself down. If anything, you're allowing your body to go, hey, I'm allowed to take a break. I'm allowed to do this and that. So again, going back to that word, adapting and coming to terms with wherever it is that you are at any age, especially after 50.
Yeah, it's really about, like you said, how you see it. Also, for me, it was choosing to see it as a weakness or as a decline when it is a change. And there's so many other examples than physical, I think, as well. That I just felt like this was a really important topic to bring up. Maybe it'll cue something in somebody else.
And when you think about cueing things in, maybe for our audience and for ourselves, it could be anything from, I brought this up earlier for you. Hey, I'm seeing a lot of this in my clients of, coming to terms with a relationship that you're in, whether it's a friendship or an intimate relationship. Do I want to stay? Do I want to go? Does it still fulfill me? Am I holding on to something because I'm too afraid to think that I can't adapt after 50? Like, pay attention to that. You could be holding onto a job, a friendship, an intimate relationship, where you're living, a home, clothes, whatever it is, where the fear steps in of, well, I'm after 50 and, I don't know if I get rid of this or if I change this, can I adapt to that? And that's a really key word in life in general is how do you adapt and allow and embrace, especially after 50?
Yeah. I think for purposes of this segment, what really comes up strongly for me is that if you allow yourself to be vulnerable and express this, especially to a trusted friend, that can really help bridge that gap, or from the where you were to where you are now.
So, you can definitely bridge that gap and share with what you're going through. And then maybe somebody else will open up and go, yeah, I'm going through that too. Or somebody might not want to deal with what you're going through because they have so many other things that they're dealing with. And then what happens is that person falls off and then you're left with, I just opened up about what I'm going through and they're not there. That's another big thing that people go through. So just remember, when you open up and you share, try not to have an expectation of wanting and getting something back. It's more about you being transparent and not keeping it in. It's about letting it out. Like I always say to my clients, if you had diarrhea, do you hold it in? No, it's the same thing. You express something, say something without an expectation, it gets out and you feel better because you've shared it. Whatever the other person does with it is what they do with it. But you've done something that you need to do for yourself. Does that make sense?
So you're saying just go ahead and shit all over somebody.
Well, not so much in those terms, but it's more about, if you want to share something without an expectation. No one's there to it's not up to somebody to take care of you. That's what it comes down to. It's how do you take care of yourself? And if you choose to share, it's transparency. Maybe that person is ready for it. Maybe they're not. Maybe they come back to you a while later and go, I thought about what you said and this is what I'm going through.
Yeah. Well, if you're going through midlife changes, know that you are not alone. Not alone at all. You're not broken. You're not different. You are right there along with all of us. Paige, thank you. And we will see you next time on Our Second Act with Paige and Silka.
For your second act of life. Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you haven't already done so, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. And if there's a topic that you'd like to have us cover, visit our website, secondact.tv. We have a little red suggestion box in the upper right-hand corner of our site. Just click on that, drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. See you next time.